Welcome to Musings 2019. Today we're going to talk about early stage B2B startups and the strategic focus areas for them. Over the past 5 odd years, we have seen over 7,500 tech startups in the Indian market. Of these, around 1,000 were added in 2018 alone. We've also seen a fair number of B2B startups emerge in the last couple of years, and this trend is expected to increase over the next few years as well. So, what are some of the strategic focus areas that B2B startups should really look at? Firstly, they should consider bringing on board advisors with domain expertise who can focus on execution. Gone are the days when well-known personalities could come on board and lend their name and be merely a bouncing board for the founders. Today it calls for getting on board people who understand a specific domain and who can drive execution as well. For instance, if you wish to get on board an advisor to help with product development, then that advisor needs to work with the product teams, focus on building the roadmap, and also get hands-on doing research, working with customers, understanding their needs, and also doing pilot projects. So that's really the first one. The second area really is that founders need to decide between scaling in India and scaling globally and in what time frame. So if you really look at it, you'll find that a lot of investors put pressure on founders to increase their gross margins, and very often these margins are better in mature markets. However, the key question to ask is your product and organization mature enough to handle competitive headwinds when you move into those international markets? Therefore, it might be better for you to actually scale up within India and look at market dominance within India, because in the bargain, you will also build maturity in the product, you will build maturity in the organization, and you will be better prepared to understand the product fitment and your strategy as you grow international. Thirdly, I think organizations now need to figure out what kind of investors they would like on board. Today, there are plenty of investors for early stage companies, namely high net worth individuals, corporate investors, and seed funds. And they all come with specific expertise. Now, what you need to look at is how do their expertise fit in with what you're looking for? And therefore, you need to figure out that are these investors bringing to the table things that you need? For instance, if you're looking for people who can help with the vision, people who can help with strategic partnerships or with your go-to-market, then those are decisions that you need to take. Fourthly, I think you also need to look at, are you looking at building a product for India or building it internationally? Because the focus and the approach is very different. So if your focus is to build it for the world market, then perhaps the founder needs to look at relocating to an international market where the opportunity exists, operate from an accelerator over there, and look at building an ecosystem which will help in accelerating market penetration in those markets. And finally, what you also need to look at is, can you consider setting up an early stage strategic partnership? Because by doing that, what really happens is that you can actually validate your product concept, you can get inputs on a regular basis which can help in product development, and also take a very structured go-to-market approach. So actually, when you look at 2019, it's going to be the year of reckoning for startups which emerged over the past few years, because competitive pressures are going to be immense. Technology is going to ensure that innovation gaps are narrowed constantly. And there's going to be a lot of choice for customers because they're going to be taking solutions and evolving into finally using solutions which actually work for them. So to summarize the key points for early stage B2B startups and their strategic focus areas in 2019, firstly, they need to bring on board advisors with domain expertise and who can focus on execution. Secondly, they need to decide between scaling in India and scaling overseas and the exact timing for that. Thirdly, Look at bringing on board investors who bring far more value than just funding. Fourthly, look at getting early stage strategic partnerships done, which will really help in the entire scale up process. And finally, deciding, are you building for India or building for the world? Thank you, and wishing you all success in 2019.